Hey, listen, stop asking me, do I love that woman? And I do. And I ain't gonna play about her. And ain't nobody gonna play with her. I'm stepping 10 behind her. I don't give a how bad we get into it and how we fall out. That's mine's over there.
Y'all ever see somebody crying out for help right in front of you and you just know something bad is about to happen? That's exactly what went down on a winter day in Georgia. Zaria Carr, known online as Dutchess Dior, posted on Facebook, "I really don't know what to do. I need help before I lose my life or freedom. My kids need me." That was 5:05 in the evening. By 9:30 that same night, police found her dead in her own home. Her husband, Shamarcus, the man she'd been building a life with, was in the wind. And girl, when they finally tracked him down, what he did next made sure their babies would grow up without a mama or a daddy. I'm walking you through every heartbreaking detail of this case. You already know where you at. You're watching Shadowed Crimes TV. Zaria was 27 years old, a mother, an entrepreneur trying to make something of herself online. She went by Dutchess Dior on social media. And if you knew her, you knew she had that energy, the kind of woman who could light up a room just by walking in. She had dreams, she had hustle, and she had 2 kids who needed her. Her husband, Shamarcus Carr, was 36. He called himself the Frenchman online, worked as a dog breeder, had his own little following. From the outside looking in, they seemed like they were building something together. 2 people in the same space, trying to make it work. But like a lot of relationships that look good on the surface, there was a whole different story happening when the cameras weren't rolling. And on this particular day, that story was about to explode in the worst way possible.
I swear you'll die. Dad, I gotta die by that? That's crazy, y'all. I ain't really gonna die by it.
Let's talk about the hours before Zaria died. Because she didn't stay quiet. She wasn't suffering in silence. No, she took to Facebook and laid it all out there for the world to see. That afternoon, she posted, "Somebody tell me how this boy got all my texts and calls." Now, if you've ever been in a relationship where trust is crumbling, you know exactly what that means. She's realizing he's been going through her phone, tracking her every move, violating her privacy. That's control. That's surveillance. That's a man who doesn't trust you but won't let you go either. Then she posted again, "I really be too loving and too forgiving. I'm a woman but to the wrong boy." Y'all read that again. She knew she'd been giving her energy to someone who didn't deserve it, someone who was draining her instead of building with her. That's the painful clarity that comes when you finally had enough. But it gets deeper. She said she'd been embarrassed and disrespected while helping a man fight demons. Let me tell you something, that line right there tells you everything about what she'd been going through. She wasn't just dealing with relationship problems, she was trying to hold down a man who was battling his own internal wars. And instead of getting support, she was getting dragged down with him. These weren't just vague complaints. These were warnings. These were breadcrumbs she was leaving for anyone paying attention. And then came the live stream.
She been cheating on love. Cheating on love. I've been cheating. I've been my thing. It's really frustrating. It's really aggravating when every time you hear your pick up the phone, he on the phone spraying your name. Yeah, you know my girl was they never touched me. Why are you lying on me?
Zaria went live on Facebook, and what people saw was a couple unraveling in real time. This wasn't a private argument behind closed doors. This was raw, unfiltered chaos broadcast to anyone who clicked on her page. The conversation was all over the place. Accusations flying back and forth. Shamarcus is in the frame, and the tension between them is thick enough to cut with a knife. At one point, he says something about cheating. She fires back, The kind of back and forth that happens when a relationship has been toxic for so long that nobody even remembers what they're really fighting about anymore. But then it shifted. Shamarcus looked at the camera, looked at her and said, "I swear you're dying."
I swear you're dying. Dad, I gotta die like that? That's crazy.
Girl, not "we need to talk." Not "I'm leaving." Not even "I hate you." He said, "I swear you're dying." That's a threat. That's a promise. That's a man telling a woman on camera in front of witnesses that her life is about to end. And if that wasn't chilling enough, he reached for something. The people watching said it looked like a knife.
Say something else in my life. Bitch, sit back and listen. Oh, you gonna stab me? Sit back and listen. You ain't gonna make it out the door, and I'm gonna do it to you. So the best thing for you to do is up.
You can hear Zaria reacting. You can hear the fear creeping into her voice. He told her, "Sit back and listen. I'm gonna do it to you." That live stream ended, and a few hours later, Zaria Carr was dead. At 9:30 that night, police got a call about a domestic disturbance at Zaria's home. When officers arrived, they found her unconscious. Paramedics tried. They did what they could, but it was too late. Zaria was pronounced dead. Her cause of death. Authorities didn't release that information right away, and we'll get into why that matters in a minute. But what we do know is this: she died in her own home. The place that's supposed to be your refuge, your safe space, became the place where her life ended. And Shamarcus, he was gone. Vanished. Her car, a 2021 Dodge Challenger, was missing too. An alert went out. Officers were looking for the car, looking for him, trying to piece together what had just happened. It didn't take long. Just after 11 p.m., authorities spotted the Dodge Challenger. They'd found Shamarcus. The car was moving, he was behind the wheel, and officers were closing in. This should have been the moment where he pulled over, where he faced what he'd done, where there could be answers, accountability, some kind of justice for Zaria. But that's not what happened. Before police could even initiate the traffic stop, Shamarcus made his choice. He pulled out a gun and shot himself, right there in the car. Officers rushed him to the hospital, but the damage was done. He died from his injuries. And just like that, in less than 6 hours, 2 people were gone. A mother who'd begged for help, a father who'd made sure he'd never have to answer for what he did, and 2 children left behind to make sense of a tragedy that doesn't make any sense at all. Now here's where things get complicated from an investigative standpoint. When the person you believe committed a murder takes their own life, the case doesn't just close up neat and tidy. There are still questions that need answering. The Wayne County Sheriff's Office took over the investigation into Shamarcus's death. That's standard procedure when an officer-involved incident happens, even if it's a self-inflicted gunshot wound during a pursuit. They have to document everything, reconstruct the timeline, make sure there are no loose ends. But Zaria's case? That went to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. The GBI Medical Examiner's Office was tasked with performing her autopsy. And this is important, y'all, because as of the time authorities released information to the public, they had not disclosed Zaria's cause of death. Now, why would they hold that back? There are a few reasons investigators keep certain details close to the vest. Sometimes it's to protect the integrity of the investigation. Sometimes it's because they're still waiting on toxicology reports or other forensic results that take weeks to process. Sometimes it's because they want to rule out other possibilities. Maybe there's a chance, however small, that someone else was involved, and they don't want to tip their hand. In this case, with Shamarcus dead and the live stream threat on record, most people already had their conclusion. But the law doesn't work on assumptions. The law works on evidence. So the GBI was doing their job, making sure every detail was accounted for. What we do know is that Zaria had some kind of injuries. We know she was found unconscious. We know she didn't survive. The specifics of how she died, Whether it was blunt force trauma, strangulation, stabbing, or something else, that information stayed sealed. And for her family, for her friends, for everyone watching this case unfold online, that silence was deafening. Here's the thing about cases like this: there's no arrest, there's no trial, there's no moment in a courtroom where a guilty verdict brings some sense of closure. Shamarcus took that possibility away when he pulled that trigger. So what does justice look like when the accused is already dead? It looks like an investigation that confirms what everyone already suspected. It looks like evidence being cataloged and filed away. It looks like officials releasing statements saying the case is closed because there's no one left to prosecute. And for the people who loved Zaria, it looks like an empty chair where accountability should have been sitting. There's no dramatic courtroom showdown here. No testimony from witnesses breaking down on the stand. No jury deliberation, no sentencing hearing where a judge hands down years behind bars. All of that evaporated the moment Shamarcus decided he wasn't going to face the consequences of his actions. The legal system is built on the idea that people answer for what they do. But when someone takes themselves out of the equation, the system just stops. The case gets stamped closed, histum suspect deceased, and everyone has to live with the fact that there will never be a trial. Never be a conviction. Never be a moment where someone in a position of authority looks at the evidence and says, yes, this is what happened and this is why it was wrong. Zaria's friends said she had a smile that could light up any room she walked into. They said she had a big heart, the kind of person who gave. Even when she didn't have much to give, she was building something, a life, a brand, a future for her kids. And now those kids are growing up without her. They're also growing up without their father. 2 parents gone in one night, 2 children left to be raised by whoever steps up to take on that responsibility, grandparents maybe, or other family members willing to love them through this nightmare. But here's what's haunting about this case. Zaria told us, she posted it on Facebook, she went live, she put the warnings out there for the whole world to see, and it still wasn't enough. There's a hard truth we have to sit with. Even when someone is screaming for help in the most public way possible, even when the red flags are waving in everyone's face, sometimes the system, the people around them, the timing, it all fails. Not because nobody cared, but because domestic violence moves fast. It escalates in hours, not days. And by the time someone thinks to call the police, to check in, to do something, it's already too late. This case isn't just about Zaria and Shamarcus. It's about every person right now who's reading threatening texts and wondering if they should be scared. It's about every person who's being told, I'm going to kill you, and doesn't know if it's just anger talking or a real promise. It's about the families who'll see the warning signs after the fact and wish they'd done more. Zaria Carr was 27 years old. She was a mother, she was a daughter, she was a friend, she was a whole human being, with dreams and plans and people who loved her, and she deserved to still be here. Zaria and Shamarcus left behind 2 kids. 2 children who went to bed one night with both parents and woke up to a reality where neither of them would ever come home again. There's no easy way to talk about this part. Those kids didn't ask for any of this. They didn't ask to be born into a relationship that was falling apart. They didn't ask to lose their mother to violence and their father to his own choices. But here we are, when both parents die, especially in circumstances like this, the state steps in, Child Protective Services gets involved. Family members are contacted. Somebody has to take responsibility for raising these children, for giving them stability, for helping them process a trauma that most adults couldn't even handle. Maybe it's grandparents, maybe it's aunts or uncles, maybe it's family friends who step up, because they loved Zaria and want to honor her memory by protecting her babies. Whoever it is, they're taking on the weight of explaining to these kids, someday when they're old enough to understand what really happened to their parents. And what do you even say? How do you explain that their father hurt their mother, that he then took his own life, that neither of them is coming back? There's no script for that conversation. There's no gentle way to deliver that truth. Those kids are going to grow up with questions. They're going to wonder who their parents really were. They're going to search online someday and find the Facebook posts, the live stream, the news articles. They're going to see their family's tragedy laid out for public consumption, and they're going to have to decide what to do with that knowledge. The hope is that whoever raises them gives them love, stability, and therapy. Lots of therapy, because the trauma of losing both parents in one night doesn't just go away, it shapes who you become. Here's what we need to sit with. Zaria did everything we tell domestic violence victims to do. She reached out, she made her situation known, she documented the abuse, she posted publicly so there would be a record, so people would know what was happening, and she still died. So what does that mean for the next person in a similar situation? What are they supposed to do if even going public doesn't guarantee safety? The truth is, there's no perfect answer. Protective orders are helpful, but they're just paper. Restraining orders tell someone to stay away, but they don't physically stop them from showing up. Calling the police works if they can get there in time, but domestic violence escalates fast, faster than anyone can respond sometimes. The system has limits, and those limits cost lives. But here's what we can't do. We can't let those limits be an excuse for inaction. If you're in danger, you still call for help. You still leave when you can. You still document everything. You still reach out to friends, family, organizations that specialize in helping people escape abusive relationships. Because even though the system isn't perfect, doing nothing guarantees the worst outcome. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-799-7233. You can also text START to 88788. Help is out there, and you don't have to face this alone. This has been Shadowed Crimes TV, where we shine a light on the stories that need to be told. If this case moved you, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and let's keep the conversation going.